everyone. Welcome. We are together with Danny.
Hello, everyone.
We have a little echo but, at the background, so okay, it's better now. Welcome all. This is Özlem. I'm a professional coach and co-founder of SparkUs. And I am more responsible for the content part of the equation. And I have my co-founder Danny with me, so I'm going to pass the mic to him.
Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk to you about trends in digital coaching, and we arranged the presentation around three major sections. The first one, we will talk about what are the typical tools in digital coaching. Then we will continue on how those coaching tools can translate into programs and what kind of programs you can run in the company with your coachees. And finally, we will continue on with your questions, and we will try to answer them in the process as well.
Yeah, if you have any questions along the way, please send them through the chat box. And we will come back to that. Our team is watching the questions. So we're planning to arrange something like 20 minutes at the end to answer all your questions.
Yeah. So before starting, we realized the term coaching is utilized broadly in the business setting. And we will try to address some of the fringe coaching practices around the tech as well. However, we wanted to start with what we understand from coaching.
Yeah, and in that sense, it's not just our personal experience and understanding, but we are following the International Coach Federation and European Mentoring and Coaching Council's ISCF and EMCC's approach towards coaching. And when we're talking about coaching, we have two main words actually. One is giving the person, an individual, a space for exploration, that level of introspection, so that they find their own solutions, they define their own reality and their own goals to come up with at the end some actions. So we have those two words together when we're talking about coaching, and of course that comes with some introspection, some self-reflection of the individuals to move forward. So it's rather than somebody telling people what to do, somebody advising people how to carry on. It is basically mostly asking questions and listening to someone so that that person finds their own answers, finds their own solutions. So that's when we're talking about coaching, we're mostly focusing on that approach of coaching in this setting.
So when we jump into coach tech tools, there are two types of tool sets that are aiding the coaching experience of any employee or any professional. The first group of tools, by the way, when I talk about group of tools, I'm not specifically addressing a company, a solution, or any brand. Most of the coaching technology companies like ourselves provides a mix of these tools. So we just wanted to categorize these tools in order to give you a broader understanding of what's possible, what is available in the market. So the first set of categories are admin and facilitation tools. These are the tools who are basically providing a tech approach to mostly manual processes like matching the coaches or the mentors, session arrangements, action tracking, or in some cases, more advanced tools like development tracking and also some sort of providing an NPS score or surveying in order to understand what's going on and how we can manage the way forward. On the
So in
second,
that sense, that is not very different than, it could be the coach in this case, but you might also consider them something like finding a doctor. There are marketplaces for that. To find a therapist, there are marketplaces, or finding let's say, an English-speaking teacher, there are marketplaces. So there are different marketplace tools, and also some tools to track sessions are out there. Now, in that case, the fact is it is based on coaching in the sense. So the pool that these tools are providing are for professional coaches rather than, let's say, doctors. So if you have that kind of an experience on any other platform, you can somehow make an analogy of that to understand how it basically looks like.
and when we go back to the second category, which are digital coaching content tools or digital coaching experience tools, these tools provide um, a mimicry of a coaching experience. So these are not the tools who are designed to eliminate the administrative cost. These are tools to optimize and scale your already in place coach resources, or sometimes totally replace them with technology, and we will come to that. So let's dive into each one of them. The first one, administrative and facilitation tools. These are the tools, like the marketplace tools. Let's start with that one. That those tools handle the matching process of the coaches, of the mentors. These coaches and mentors might be internal coaches or internal mentors, or external coaches or mentors, or a mix of them. They mostly employ some sort of matching algorithm, some sort of selection by the coachee, by the employee, and in the back end, some sort of control on the program manager or the coach in order to match both parties. Uh, these tools mostly based on data, and some AI tools actually learn to make better matchings. However, at the end of the day, it's mostly about matching the most available and adequate coaching resource with the coachee employee inside the company.
Yeah, and it's, of course, you can think about it, is very handy when you have just one person in one country, for instance, and you're running a global program, and you want someone to be matched with, let's say, somebody is working in where the Netherlands, where I am right now, and you want someone to find someone in the US or in Asia Pacific. So if you want that kind of geographical reach, or some specific requirements for the matching, those can come into play very handy to find a kind of a right match for the people.
These tools also typically include some sort of need and expertise based matching as well, typically in the mentoring space, but also in the coaching as well. So if you're looking for being more assertive, you can work with the coach who is more experienced with coaching someone to be more assertive, and actually the algorithm can address these types of matching needs in the process as well. The second category in the admin facilitation part is the coaching support tools. We call them coaches toolbox. These tools actually undertake the role of in between session process of the coaching experience. For example, they help to arrange sessions, they help to track actions, they help to provide some sort of library, and the coach actually drives them, and the coach actually utilize them to make the most out of the time in between coaching sessions. Typical tools like, again, availability management for coaches, session arrangement, session tracking, action tracking, some types of development tracking,
And
assess
sometimes invoicing for the coaches.
invoicing, assessments, and in some cases, um, also some sort of action or content recommendation uh, can be a part of this type of tools. So the admin facilitation tools, they are not scaling the coaching per se. However, they scale the ability to manage a program within a company or within a group of users. So it's very difficult to track, let's say, few hundred of coaches, match them with hundreds of coaches, track their progress, track their billing, track their development progress. So these tools actually help most companies to undertake a larger program uh, with attendees about 50 up to thousands of users. The second type of coach tech tools reside in digital coaching content, and one part of it is coaching experience tools. These again, um, these tools mimics what happens in the session and replicate that experience to provide some sort of readiness to the coachee. So instead of meeting with the coach after an intake form and having one-on-one conversation just to understand what coachee needs and invest a large sum amount of time in order to build the trust, understand the needs, diagnose the needs, and actually plan to generate the impact. These coaching experience tools come into play most of the time before the first coaching sessions, but sometimes in between, just right after the first sessions or right after the introductory session. And these tools integrate a designed experience, again, undertake the role of onboarding and providing necessary experience to kickstart the face-to-face process of coaching in a way that optimizes the coach's time. Therefore, they can generate the most impact in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah. And when you think about the typical experience of the traditional coaching, especially in terms of executive coaching, for instance, there are certain basic steps that always happens, like the 360s, goal setting, agreement with the manager, looking into vision of people, maybe doing some assessments. So all of them might be like something that is repetitively done with the coach's full-time involvement. So the digital coaching experience tools are undertaking those parts of the coaching journey and saving time for both parties, for the coachee and for the coach. And slowly, they're taking over the basics of the understanding of how coaching works. So with the digital exercises, the coachee is given the introspection time to look into themselves and to prepare themselves for the coaching session when they come together with the coach. So with those tools, you're making sure that the people who are ready to receive coaching are actually, that's why we call them coaching readiness tools. So the people who are ready to receive coaching are sitting across the coach, and they can generate more impact maybe in less time. So especially in this world of the speed, the pace, what we are able to see then is the onboarding to the coaching process and gaining the understanding of coaching works is much more quicker thanks to the digitalization of the coaching journey, some part of the coaching journey.
Just to add few fringe tools into the mix as well. Some of the admin tools, as well as some of the digital coaching content, may also integrate the manager into the process, company competencies into the process, other assessment tools, or other development tools might be integrated or can be integrated to these tools as well. So when you're thinking about um, designing a coaching program around coach tech tools, or implementing coach tech tools to your already in place coaching programs, it's a good practice to include your other development tools into the mix, or your other trainings into the mix. We saw a lot of integrations in the past that are fruitful for the coaching experience, and also the ROI of the coaching program as well.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
think it's also important to note here that especially that we've been to the hybrid workplace, some certain parts of the coaching is yes obviously happening over Zooms or other tools, but when we're talking about digitalization of the coaching content, it is not having sessions online, but these tools are basically helping you to get there with some introspection already happening through the digital. So it is important to underline the fact that it also increases the engagement on the digital in terms of coaching.
so last but not least, this is the fringe part of coaching technology tools. There are also tools which are designed to um, undertake the sometimes the action part of the process, uh, or just fly by the discovery process in a more superficial manner by providing a decision support tool. These tools mostly are reside in the area of reskilling, upskilling, training, onboarding of the employees. These tools actually are focused on mapping some sort of content or recommendation with the right people, or let's say the right solution with the employee. In order to do that, they ask, rather than open-ended questions, they ask chatbot like more closed-ended questions in order to provide the best possible decision into the coachee. We see these tools provide recommendations around giving feedback, undertaking a training, or providing a list of possible careers in a company. So again, it's it's controversial to call all of them a coaching tool. However, these tools can scale immensely and can support some of the already in place development tools with some sprinkle of self discovery and taking action.
Yeah, I should note that this is why we gave the description of what we understand as coaching, because there are many different definitions of coaching out there. That's why we said like we're following the ICF and EMCC's definition, because there is less introspection in this process. There is maybe some level of exploration, with some if then else questions, and there are sometimes some support into the action. but especially that open-ended question part of coaching that brings the introspection for someone to find their own solutions is generally not there. It is more moving towards, I would say, advisory somehow. I mean, they are there definitely. Probably, if the technology improves along the way, it would create a total different environment. Then we can discuss them later on. But at the moment, with the current technology, it is more around close-ended questions and more like curation rather than coaching, I can say.
And it's not hip to call a development consultant, but it's more hip to call them a development coach for your employees. So again, these are gray zones. You can
Yeah.
decide for yourselves. And as Özlem mentioned, we see there's a brighter future for these types of tools when they can integrate open-ended questions and some sort of semantic understanding of the coachee's
Yeah.
contents.
Yeah.
So far we covered most of the coach tech tools. I know there are many different variations of coaching tools, from virtual reality to metaverse uh, to like encrypted ledgers or some sort of high tech. However, for from the experience point of view, these are the set of tools that you can categorize them under these. Okay, you are mostly here not just to hear what are the possible technologies, but how we can implement them to our everyday practice and how we can provide the right tool for the right program. In order to address that question, we actually sampled this chart from Redthread's coaching tech research. You can find it in the Redthread's own website. Um, we might share the link under the webinar afterwards. But they did a quite good job uh, just to putting into the categories the possible programs that you can implement in your everyday practice. So let me go through the chart before diving into the each quadrants. Whenever you're running a coaching program or a mentoring program, by the way, sometimes some companies utilize these terms interchangeably. We are not, but again, when we are talking in mentoring programs, we are not just addressing the experience transfer mentoring programs. We are specifically focusing on what we understand from coaching and integration of mentoring to that self-discovery and action
So it's
taking.
not just technical mentoring that we're talking about, but also, mentoring for behavioral change. That also has that element of exploration and action, but maybe there is, in addition to it, some experience sharing as well.
So, in this chart, on the top part, you see the human coaches. On the bottom part, you'll see the machine coaches. On the left side, you see internal resources as coaches. On the right side, you see external resources as coaches. So, when we are talking about human coaches and external resources, that means some external human coach actually providing the coaching service. And when you're looking at this chart, I need to underline that there's no clear cut between the quadrants. You can always play with a blended solution. For example, you can blend human coaches with machine coaches, or you can blend some internal resources with external resources. And in real life experience, we always see some sort of blend in the quadrants. So for the first quadrant, Özlem, would you like to add something around the chart?
No, I mean, uh, I just want to add, we're going to come to that later on, but that at SparkUs, we basically have a combination of them all. So when we're talking about all these different quadrants, we're going to first focus on, what, without the blend that quadrant does. And then we're going to add into it, like, what happens if you use that quadrant with a blend of another one, based on our personal experience with SparkUs.
Okay, let's start with the quadrant one, which is human coaches and external resources. These tools are mostly utilized for coaching at scale programs and thematic coaching programs. They provide their coach pool. So the solution provider actually has a coach pool, and they match the right coach with the right coachee. They track the session and they track the development. They have different sources. Again, some of the tools are blended, some of the tools are more reside in a clear cut framework of external resources and human coaches. Uh, when we are talking about coaching at scale programs and thematic coaching programs, you can you can see them as um, less administrative, costly programs. However, I will give the mic to Özlem right after this. When you're blend these type of tools with some sort of coaching readiness experience, you can also scale the number of coachees without scaling the human source of the coaches.
Yeah. I would first start by, without the blend. Again, I'm going to first focus on where do we see this in terms of in the coaching field. You might have heard the term democratization of coaching, and that's generally focusing on this corner. What we used to have for a long time was, if you think about the pyramid in an organization, we used to have more coaching for the top management, top executives, and we were then providing, the rather expensive solution of coaching to those selected people in the organization. That has been for a long while the topic. And with the introduction of this corner, basically, the focus started going down in the organization to bring coaching to more people. And what's generally happening at coaching at scale programs, as if you don't have the blend, if you're just using it as a like bringing the right coach to the right person approach, it is most of the time approached as kind of a benefit to some people. Most of the time, there is no connection between the strategy of the organization and why we are coaching them, unless it is a certain thematic program like diversity inclusion, for instance. So there could be certain themes that we're gathering people, but most of the time the approach is more like, okay, so we give the strategic support to top management, and then we just say whoever comes has the access to coaching. I have coaches in the pool, buy the seats, you're going to pay and just have access to either a number of sessions or sometimes limited number of sessions. Where the blend comes into play is generally when you have a strategic goal for that audience in mind. If you want to make sure that everybody is going through a certain strategic topic, let's say leadership development in line with your own new competency model, or for your talents to look into their career paths in the organization, then just providing the coach and hoping that they are speaking about the topics you want them to speak about is not really the way to go. Then in that case, we're then starting to blend the machine coaching and the exercises down there with the digital coaching experiences to blend these. And then we have a broader reach for the strategic goals that we want to have, and also have the democratization to more people. So that would be one of the things that we do a lot in organizations. First, democratizing to many people, but also making sure that the strategy is there and we are kind of matching the strategy and the goals. The team is also aware of. The coaches are also aware of that approach. So that would be what I would say in that corner.
So just to summarize, the pros of quadrant one is you will spend less time in administration the program, tracking the performance of the coaches or finding the right coaches. You will utilize external coaches, their expertise, so you don't have to train any coaches. And on the cons side, if it's not blended, the investments to coaching might be in vain due to lack of connection between the coaching experience and the company's strategic goals. Again, when you're blended the quadrant one with some sort of coaching readiness tools and some sort of coaching framework, then you have a more inline investment with your strategic goals.
One thing to add there, that's why we are using the word coaching readiness, because if we once we start bringing coaching to everyone, everyone knows what to expect from a doctor. Everyone knows what to expect from, I don't know, an Uber. But generally people don't know what to expect from a coach. Coaching is a new concept. There are lots of different expectations. So it is also important to make sure that people are coming to the coach with the right intentions. So in terms of, the blend also supports people to get an understanding of how coaching works so that they can be much more ready to receive coaching. That's also on the important side. Yeah.
So the premature ending of that coaching experience before understanding the real value of it might be a risk as well. When we go into the quadrant two, we have again human coaches, but we can use internal resources, most likely in mentoring programs, coach-like leader programs, and internal coaches. So these tools are mostly focused on, again, administrating the program, but also they have some sort of onboarding mechanism for the mentors or the coaches as well. Again, without blending, these tools are mostly matching tools and session trackers. Sometimes they do development tracking as well. And these tools also require some sort of internal training in order to prepare the mentors, leaders, and internal coaches to coach their assigned coaches or employees.
Yeah. And I would add that most organizations who have embarked on a broad scale mentoring or internal coaching journey generally have a mentor or internal coach request tool. And that might fall into this quadrant. Generally, when we see that organizations are embarking on a journey, there is this energy of like, we're going to train our internal people as coaches or mentors. But what we also see on the maybe first focus on the pro side, it just adds a lot to the coaching culture in the organization and the awareness about coaching in the organization, definitely. And on the con side, what is generally happening is I've heard organizations saying like, we trained people, but we don't talk about it much because they don't have enough time to serve everyone, because generally they are job plus coaches. They have other responsibilities. So the amount of people they're serving is limited. So if you just don't use the blend, but just use the human resource, then it is a little bit harder to scale the conversation. So that is on the con side. But definitely technology supports to make sure that you're watching if the sessions are happening. You're making sure that people are not just trained and forgotten, but some people are reaching them and having some conversation. So that's where the technology helps us to track the process.
Again, when you integrate coaching readiness to the process, it alleviates the added resistance from the coachee side, from the mentee side, from the employee side, and prepare them for a better experience. This has two important values. First one is, as Özlem mentioned, when someone is prepared, the time to generate impact in coaching is shorter. So uh, you can coach more people with the same resources. But the second one is, in order for the mentors, for internal coaches, or for leaders to coach someone, in the beginning it is not natural. It's another kind of relation between you and the assigned employee, and you have to build that coaching bridge between you and them. And it's an additional uphill battle for the coaches, and when the employees thinking that, oh, they assign me this coach or this mentor or this leader, and they have an agenda of the company. So when there's the when there's lack of preparation from both sides, the trainings investment and the mentoring investments might go in vain, and they can generate bad taste in mouth
Yeah.
for both parties.
Yeah.
And just to add a little bit on that, when machines, or let's say coaching readiness, is integrated to these kind of programs, it also generates a, an understanding of coaching quality, so the employees can utilize the platform to prepare themselves, as well as to demand the right type of coaching from their mentors, from their coaches. Again, to summarize, the big pro of utilizing internal resources is actually internalizing coaching culture into the company. We know that this generates a lot of engagement, a lot of dynamism in your human resources, specifically in your young talents. And also, these type of programs provides an entry level, let's say, tipping the toe into the river about coaching programs. So you might not want to jump directly with coach like leader programs. If there is some resistance in the company, you might employ a mentoring program, so your leaders might coach somebody else's team member, and they in turn they can utilize those learnings with their teams. So if you just want to jump into the coach like leaders program, which we know is trend right now, then you have to uh, take into the consideration that coach like leaders program needs to cascade down, and when a leader is not coached by their leaders, it's very difficult for them to coach their team members. So it has an additional program design element into it. But mentoring programs are really easy to implement, and internal coaches, if they're already in place, might be scaled with these type of tools. Going to the quadrant 3, we have machine coaches and internal resources. So these tools, again, mostly around the fringes, as we mentioned. They are mostly decision tools, but there are tools like SparkUs and some similar tools which are providing the coaching experience with the help of machines, with the help of design experiences. And when it's blended with the human coaches, they can perform
Mhm.
much better. Just a quick segue to a highly repeated question that we received. Can we implement SparkUs without the human elements? And in our experience, yes, you can generate some value with only machine coaching. However, that value, again, in our experience, is short lived. It's not sustainable. And when you integrate the human element into it, it's much more impactful, and it is slowly digested, therefore much more uh, nutritious.
Yeah, I would say when you involve the human, it gets deeper. The experience and the learnings, and as we mentioned, if you're just using the machines are not there yet in terms of the emotional intelligence, obviously, and what the human elements, either external coaching or internal coaching or mentors, is very important when we're talking about especially behavioral change. But for the other areas that require less behavioral change, more about trying to find out what's out there in terms of trainings, or like I'm trying to train myself maybe for a sales process that the organization has. Uh, these tools can help me to understand certain basics and to get the, let's say, the original grammar of the situation. But going deeper requires, at least with the technology that we have right now, it requires the human touch.
These tools mostly utilized in training programs, orientation programs, upskilling and reskilling of an employee. Uh, Again, if you have kind of a, as Özlem said, at scale program a problem of decision making, these tools are fabulous. For example, for upskilling and reskilling, we know that there are tools which are helping the employee to self-assess and assess their motivations in order to find the right career path, and they also provide the necessary trainings. Uh, the uh, the caveat there is, with internal resources and machine coaches, you are providing your internal content to your employees. That means the trainings are internal. That's why these are mostly used in orientation programs rather than training programs, but they can also be utilized for like position change and internal upskilling and reskilling of your workforce. Pros of these tools are they are highly scalable. Since they come out of internal resources, they are perfectly matched um, with your content, with your culture. Cons of these tools are, again, if they lack the blending with the human coaches, their impact is highly limited, and the duration of the program is very short lived. So these programs are mostly not sustainable in our experience. And going to the last quadrants, we have machine coaches, external resources. Again, uh, I just wanted to provide you more in-depth differences between the quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. However, the only difference is the quadrant 4 utilizes external resources, and they are mostly sprung out of LMSs, learning management system, or uh, any kind of, let's say, pre-existing content they can provide. Um, so I know that the questions are running on the
Yeah,
bottom.
they already
We will
started.
I will try to answer all of the questions in the in a couple of minutes. So
Yeah.
uh, for the Quadrant 4, we have uh, brands like um, Cornerstone or similar brands who you know from the LMS. They somehow integrated a decision making process or development planning process in order to map the right employee with the right content they have on the platform. And sometimes they have AI enhancement to provide a Netflix like experience for the employee when they select, okay, I want to do this. So if you want to go down that path, you might be interested with this content, and they provide a lot of nudges into the process just to keep the users on track. Again, the Quadrant 4 by itself is a good solution. The pros part, let's say, is a good solution to uh, ramp up the usage of your already in place LMS systems or already in place development tools. However, the downside of it, if it lacks the human touch, they are rarely used, or again, their impact is highly limited. Uh, at the same time, when you blend the right quadrants for the right program, you create a best of both worlds kind of experience. For example, when you blend internal contents with your external coaching program, you can have a more integrated, more strategically aligned and focused program. When you're blending your internal coaches, internal human coaches, with some sort of coaching readiness tool, you can scale them immensely, and you can lower the cost when you combine it with the Quadrant 1. So again, this is one way of looking at the available tools. There are many other ways.
And
Uh,
one of the questions we received is like, can we hear about, some examples for each quadrant? And
yeah.
maybe say it's a good one to note here is Danny already mentioned some names for quadrant 4, like Cornerstone has some tools there. There are more strictly coaching tools like Wisa is there in that corner, basically just
If
helping
you
to
want,
coach.
I can just
If
tell
you
them
have
some
that,
names.
yeah, if you, that would be great. That would be
Yes,
great.
just to be making a little bit of advertisement here, SparkUs can address all of the quadrants with its technology. However, going back um, in the human coaches and internal resources, we mostly have mentoring solutions like Chronus, Mentor Cloud, Mentor Loop, Mentora. You
Yeah,
can just type mentor into the Google and the rest will follow.
yeah. In
Uh,
quadrant 2, that is more by the name suggests it's more about mentoring.
Mentoring for Quadrant 1. I'm sorry for with it. I just started from the top left part. For Quadrant 1, you can see solutions like Better Up, Coach Up, Ezra, uh,
Ace,
Ace, and in between Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2, as well as SparkUs, you can find solutions like Torch and Pluma sounding board. So you can also integrate your internal resources into the admin tools. On the bottom part, on the left side, you can see Thrive,
by left you mean quadrant 3 or 4?
Quadrant 3, Machine Coaches, internal resources. You can see Cornerstone there as well. Cornerstone can integrate internal resources as well. You have Cultivate, Allego, Rainier, Thrive. Most of the rehearsal is actually a good simulation tool as
Yeah.
well. And on the right side in Quadrant 4, we have, as you mentioned, Ori, Pilot, Cross Knowledge, Equilibrium, and some other similar chatbot based coaching tools. And again, there are some blend tools on the top part, like Torch, Pluma, Sounding Board. On the bottom part, you have Mersion. In on the left side for internal resources, you can find some sort of blending in between with NovoEd, Intrepid, but at the same time, I believe we are, as SparkUs, we are the only solution who can play all quadrants at the same time.
I believe our team already shared the chart that we mentioned, the research of Redthread on the chat box. So maybe we can reshare it and also share it with the others who are watching the recording of this if they want it afterwards. If they send us a message, we can do that. And you can then see who's matched where, because some people, some organizations are more at the, really at the corner of one of one quadrant. Some are more in the blended versions of them. So that would be good.
So in terms of examples for the quadrant one, human coaches, external resources, we run mostly programs to coach leader groups, talent development, and diversity inclusion programs. So we mostly address thematic coaching programs with SparkUs.
Or it could be like the organization's going through a certain culture change, and they want everyone in the organization to sit down and think about certain things, for instance, engagement survey results, and then want them to receive some coaching based on that. So all of them are possible in terms of those kind of themes are also possible across the organization.
In SparkUs website, we have a case study around a banking use case. So that might be a good example for it.
Yeah.
On the human coaches, internal resources, you might see some programs of mentoring, internal coaches, and leaders as coaches, or manager as a leader, a manager as a coach programs. And again, you can download the use cases of AXA, AXA use cases for managers as leaders. Novartis use case is a mentoring use case, and you can download the Hewlett Packard Enterprise use case, which is a program that we run for them to scale their internal coaching resources. On the bottom part for quadrant 3, we have an energy use case where we integrated the upskilling, reskilling program with the manager support. And on the fourth quadrant, we provide mostly integrations with LMSs. We don't have a specific use case for it, but you can see a lot of use cases in other competitors as well.
There was also, I saw that there was also another question about the younger generations, I guess. So can we bring that question? Yeah. Do you think people at the lower levels equate coaching with being told what to do, like sports coaching versus the insights-based coaching of asking questions?
Can I jump in?
Very, very good question. No,
Very good
that's the first one I was asking. Thank you for bringing that on. And well, then you have your own experience. I have my own experience. So go ahead and share yours, and I'll share mine.
I first received coaching in my late high school years, and I was a very bad student. And it was really hard for my tutors to, like, just motivate me to even work for it. And after coaching experience, I decided that I want to become a designer. Therefore, I become the valedictorian of the university just by understanding my inner motivation and by realizing that in order to achieve my goals, I have to overcome some of the obstacles on my way. So my personal experience is younger the better, to understand the real personal motivation, as well as understanding the personal responsibility in order to perform better. So that's my experience. However, Özlem has more experience in the scaling part.
Yeah, I would say, of course, there is situational leadership to start with. So sometimes or people just join the organization new and they haven't developed the skill set yet. So they are willing, but they are much more maybe open to being trained, being mentored rather than being coached. But let's say they have developed the skill set. Actually, what we see with younger generations is for them to, I would say, really are looking not to be told, but on the other way, they just want to contribute if they have developed the relevant skills. So younger generations are asking not to be told, specifically the other way around. But what generally happens is people lowering the hierarchy, of course, make it like they probably didn't develop their self-confidence yet. So sometimes it can feel like it's better that my manager tells me so that I wouldn't take responsibility. I would make sure that I won't make mistakes. And that then comes back to the leader, the manager, to give them space, to encourage them, and also give them the area to be bold and on not too risky parts to make certain mistakes. So just give that space. It is also depending on the manager. Like if the manager is more on the command and control side, of course that wings of the younger generations don't develop. So it's kind of, I can say like it is the responsibility lies only with the manager, and I can say the responsibility lies only with the young generation. But it's more like a dance that we need to create. I think that's why, as we were talking about coach-like leadership, I think that's why it is gaining so momentum in this fast-paced world that we're living in.
I just wanted to jump in and build on the comment of Chidam, who wrote, if you can bring down here, yeah. In her experience, she just provided this insight about employees expecting to being told what to do with internal coaches and utilizing external coaches to align the coach with the client employee strategic goals. So I will detail that. If we lack the preparation side of it, if we lack the coaching readiness, if the program doesn't orient the young generation, it's really difficult for coach-like leaders or the trainees of coach-like leader programs to put the conversation into the right track of coaching and that self-discovery and that alignment between the company goals and internal motivation. So in that case, preparation takes a huge role, and coaching readiness tools like ours actually um, provides really high performance in these types of programs. At the same time, the issue of expecting being told what to do is not exclusive for internal coaches. Most of the external coaches try to address this issue in first couple of sessions. Again, these tools are helpful with preparation of the employees to the coaching experience. That's why we call coaching readiness tools, in order to make the most out of their coaching time in the program.
I think we have very one minute left, but I'm seeing that there are also other questions elsewhere. So one of the topics I think to address is, what to be watchful of when you're making a digital coaching decision for your organization. What are the key things to consider? So I'm aware that we are just at the end of our time together, but maybe just a few words. I would give it to you, Danny, as the technical guy. to talk about what are the highlights to be watchful of when you're making that kind of a decision.
First of all, compliance and data security is a huge issue. It's very important to vet the company, the vendor, around the data security, around the GDPR compliance, as well as understand their investment in security measures as well. Whether they're going to penetration tests regularly, and do they train their staff as well. And these are technical parts. The second part is it possible to integrate already in place tools? Because we know that development tools are much more effective when they work together. So these are the top 2 points. And afterwards, it comes, can you align the tool with your strategic goal? Can you integrate your own content? And can you make it your internal tool, like the external vendors tool? Because at the end of the day, corporate side coaching programs actually beneficial for both parties, for both the employee and the company, because they create and generate more value by motivating the employee, by helping them to put in place the right type of performance. And we might run another webinar around how to decide and how to assess any kind of solution. Specifically, when you're integrating an AI solution, you have to be mindful about biases and other potential future compliance issues into the account.
Yeah, I would also add, as a coach, we are mostly talking about GDPR and that kind of measures, but especially in coaching, we have confidentiality. So does the platform, the tool that you're using, secure that? Does it also watch the ethics of of the profession? These are all very important questions to consider. And I'm coming from an EMCC perspective. I have that role there in the global, and those are areas that we're looking into a lot, especially if you're talking about digital solutions. So as Danny mentioned, we can run another webinar around how to choose in that case, what to consider, how to measure the investment, the ROI of it. That can be another topic to discuss. But I'm aware of the time, so I will just cut it here. But you can just continue sending us, your questions through LinkedIn, or you can just directly reach us through SparkUs website. We would be happy to answer your questions and to continue the conversation altogether. Thank you all for joining us, giving this time, and we'll continue the conversation somehow. Thank you. Have a nice evening, morning,
wherever you are.
Afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.